After the paper review,
I
a
know.
bit of a magazine review.
We'll be doing a little bit of light reading. Yeah, we can show you the front.
Yes,
front
Maxim,
pages.
FHM. What have you got there?
I've got Zoo and Nuts here.
OK. They're full of shots of semi-clad models, pop and soap stars, and las mags often feature what you might call explicit content, but they are free from any legal restrictions.
There is a Labour MP, though, who's calling for these titles to be condemned to the top shelves and to carry cinema-style age restrictions, which they think will protect children. Is that a step too far, though? Here are some of your thoughts this morning.
They can be quite explicit. You know, some of them aren't that much different to soft porn, so...
People see this sort of thing on music videos and buses, and it's just around anyway. People really don't actually feel the need to buy them if they're going to see it anyway.
In the right hands, it's okay, the right age, but younger guys can get hold of them, so, you know, maybe there should be restrictions on them.
No, I think there's a point about men starting to see women as objects more than anything else.
Maybe it is going a bit far, I don't know, to put a restriction on it. As long as it's out of sight, that might be enough to deter people.
So the views of somebody there. The former Lads Mag editor, Derek Harbison, is here, along with feminist writer and comedian Kate Smith. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Well, Kate, you're not particularly in favour of these magazines being on general sale, but there is a difference, actually, I've noticed in what some of them will print. I mean, some of them, like, for instance,
when you say a difference, you mean a difference between this and pornography and this and this sort of pornography that goes to the top shelf?
The difference is standard between different magazines and
between the different magazines, yes, there absolutely is a range. Certainly Nuts and Zoo tend to be a lot more explicit. But all of them are showing pornographic images of women. All of them are showing women...
How do you define pornographic?
Well, I define pornographic as deliberately arranged to be sort of sexually tittillating rather than artistic, let's say. And clearly, these kind of things, fair enough, they want to put these things out. But what I would say, and what Claire Curtis Thomas is putting forward, is the idea that they shouldn't be sold to teenagers, they shouldn't be sold to young boys. And I think that one of the real advantage of bringing in this kind of legislation is that suddenly we would stop seeing them being read openly on trains and buses and all kinds of places where the general... if you put them on the top shelf, then those who want them can buy them, and those who don't want to see them don't have to. I see them on my doctor's waiting room table, and I don't want to read them, but they're there on top of all the other magazines, as if this is some kind of normal thing to go around reading.
And are they a normal thing to be going around reading, Derek?
For a lot of people, they are, absolutely. There's a big difference between these magazines and pornography. These are not classed as pornography. The law says they're not pornography.
But that's why the law needs to change.
Well, but we're not talking about changing the pornography laws. You're talking about stickering these particular magazines.
Yeah, we're talking about making an extension to the pornography laws, essentially, and saying these things need to be treated in a similar way to pornography.
So topless models would be viewed as pornography. What would you do to the...
What are we going to do to the Sun?
Well, I'd be delighted to ban it, but I think that you would probably find that the legislation would make an exception that would allow that sort of thing.
The central problem seems to be that just because you don't like something, you can't just ban it because you don't like it. Other people may be perfectly happy with it and like it. I don't particularly like cabbage. I'm not going to go around trying to ban it and other people's enjoyment of cabbage.
Well, hold on, that's a totally spurious argument. You could say, well, I don't really like child pornography, but we can't just ban it just because I don't like it.
No, that's
a reason. It has a very negative impact on society.
That is also a completely...
It's something which contributes to a very negative situation in society. And so are these. So let's do the same with these.
To bring child pornography in is really quite low. This is a ridiculous thing to say. These magazines are viewed entirely normally by lots and lots of people. The survival or otherwise of these magazines, it will be nothing to do with sticking a sticker on something. It'll do with three very important relationships that all magazines have. One is with their readers. And if these magazines go too far for the readership, then the readers will desert them, as in fact has been happening for some time. However, the other very important relationships are the ones with the supermarkets who sell them, who are very happy to sell them. And the advertisers, because advertising is the lifeblood of magazines.
Kate, may I put a point to you insofar as the pictures at their strongest in these magazines are only topless.
Yes.
and
well, you say that. In
suggestive.
fairness, a lot of the women in these magazines are naked. They're just posed in such a
All right,
way
but-
that you can't necessarily
Okay, most of them,
see very much
Okay.
more than their breasts.
Which is no more than you've been able to see in one or two tabloid newspapers for the best part of 40 years.
40
Well,
years.
that may be the case. I mean, I have friends from overseas who come to the UK and are disgusted and appalled and amazed to discover that some of the tabloid magazines, that some of the tabloid newspapers that we
Yeah,
have
but because your
on
friends
the
are
shelves,
disgusted, why does that mean that they should be
remember
put on the
that, I
top
mean, for
shelf?
instance, in my local newsagents, these magazines are literally at eye level next to children's cartoon magazines. I mean, there's
So
absolutely
just
no
briefly,
legislation.
would you put The Sun on the top shelf as well, the Sun newspaper?
Oh, well, absolutely. Why not? I mean, do we want children to grow up thinking it's absolutely normal to see these objectified images of women all around
Well,
them?
these
As some sort of normal
magazines-
thing? It's not normal. It's something which is specialist interest, and they
All
should.
right.
These
get on
magazines
page
are
3
not.
or
These
stick
magazines
on
are
the top
not.
shelf.
These magazines are not designed and marketed at children. I don't want children to buy them. I think it's perfectly sensible. We already have perfectly sensible laws that stop children buying totally inappropriate magazines that
Can
are
they
on the
be
top
sold
shelf.
right next to children's magazines?
No. Well, no.
Legally they can and they are.
There is a code of conduct that says they
It's
should
a
be placed
voluntary code
away.
of conduct, which loads of
and
people
if-
don't subscribe to. Now, if you believe that most
right.
newsagents don't do it, change the law, and the few who are breaking the voluntary code of conduct will then be forced to keep it, and we won't be, privileging those who break the voluntary code.
There, I'm afraid, we're going to have to leave it. I think I better keep these away from you because you just go and burn them, won't you?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both very
And
much.
that is what you call a heated debate.
I'll say, you might have some thoughts. Let us know what you think.
I'm sure you
this
do.
morning.
Steve from Brighton has already emailed in to says he thinks there's a big difference between lads' mags and pornography. They're a laugh, they're entertaining, they're ultimately harmless. Not everybody agrees, so keep your thoughts coming in and we'll read them out a little later.
Time now to go and get the news where you are there.
Ooh.